Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video, I want to share with you about a brand new smartwatch that I'm currently rocking. It's called the HUAWEI Watch D2, HUAWEI Watch D 2nd Gen, and it's the only smartwatch in the market that is ABPM. That means Ambulatory Blood Pressure Monitoring. Yep, a pretty interesting term, and basically what ambulatory means is that the watch itself is actually capable of tracking your blood pressure over regular intervals throughout the entire day to give you a more accurate picture of how your blood pressure actually is. Now, the reason why I was actually quite excited to test this out is because unfortunately for me, I'm actually suffering from a little bit of high blood pressure, hypertension. And at home, typically I'm actually using this guy here, which I tend to track my own BP over multiple days. But so when this watch was actually announced and Huawei reached out to me to see if I want to track it out, naturally I said yes. And the first thing that I had in my mind was like, is this certified by any kind of medical institutions? And they said that they are certified by one from Europe, one from China, and eventually it will also be certified in Malaysia. So anyways, let's talk a little bit about the HUAWEI Watch D2 and find out what it can actually do. Alright, so first things first, as soon as I unbox the guy here, I noticed that on the inside we actually have different straps. So one is a bit longer like this, and mine version here, because I'm quite skinny, is actually a shorter strap. Now what's actually interesting is that on the back of this strap you do have this tiny airbag kind of thing, and it's actually similar to how a machine typically measures your blood pressure. That means they put in a lot of air and try to squeeze your arm so you can actually measure the flow of your blood and all that. But you can actually do that with the HUAWEI Watch D2. So that's pretty interesting there. Now, how you actually measure your blood pressure using the watch itself is fairly simple. You try to keep it as close to your heart as possible, and you just put your arm like this or your wrist like this, and you can just get the measurement right away. It's super simple, and it takes about 50 seconds, for my personal situation, about 40 to 50 seconds to actually get a reading. So I've actually been using this throughout the entire day, multiple days now, and I've got quite a fair bit of records down in the watch itself, and I can also see that in the app. Now, how this is useful for anyone who's suffering from hypertension, whether it's low BP, mid or high, is that you can actually show these records to your doctor, because eventually you have the entire day's BP measurement over that regular intervals, and you can actually give your doctor a clearer idea on what your BP actually is. And that's actually quite important because hypertension is also known to some as the silent killer. I myself wasn't aware that I had this issue until a couple of years back when I just felt giddy and I went to check with a doctor, and that was when I realized that I do have this hypertension issue. Now, in case you're wondering if the watch itself is very heavy, it is not. So surprisingly for me, I do have the HUAWEI Watch GT5 Pro, and this guy here is actually even lighter than the GT5 Pro. Now, that's a very quick one in terms of the design. What we have here is actually a fairly standard looking smartwatch. I would say that it looks premium to a certain extent, but it does come with this very large 1.82 inch AMOLED display on the front, which is very easy to navigate and use. Other than that, the straps themselves feels very comfortable. It's sweat resistant, and it's a skin friendly kind of strap. You also have two buttons on the side here, with one being a rotating crown for those easier control. Alright, so it's not just tracking your blood pressure and all that. The watch itself can actually also track your other health features. So naturally, we have your all-day heart rate, your SpO2, your stress levels. It also tracks your sleeps very in detail. So it has your deep sleeps, your light sleeps. It also tracks your breathing patterns during your sleeps. And you also have stuff like your skin temperature, ECG, your arterial stiffness, and much more. Now, moving on, in case you're wondering about whether it tracks your normal activities, let's say you do some sports and all that, well, the watch itself comes with GNSS on board, so it provides some form of like a positioning as well. So you can actually track up to 80 different kinds of sport modes. It also works like a typical kind of smartwatch where you can see all your notifications. You can also answer Bluetooth calls directly from the watch itself. And yeah, all in all, I didn't feel like I was wearing a blood pressure monitor on my wrist. It still feels like a smartwatch, but it adds on the feature where it can actually track my blood pressure. Now, another thing you might be worried about here is in terms of the battery life. If it's tracking your blood pressure so many times at those regular intervals during the day, is it going to have a big impact on your battery life? Well, so far I can't say like how long will the battery actually last, but so far I've been on my third day now, I think, and I still have about like 50% remaining. So I will assume close to a week It depends how often you set those intervals for your blood pressure monitoring, and that will actually affect your ultimate battery life. But nevertheless, it's still better than some other smartwatches out there. Anyways, that's pretty much what I want to share with you about the HUAWEI Watch D2. If you have any further questions, I'll put in an official link down below. But if you have any underlying medical issues, I still strongly suggest you to check out with your own doctor. Now with that said, thank you for watching today's video all the way to the end. Hope all of you guys are staying healthy and do not have any hypertension issues. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Do take care, stay safe, and bye-bye.